So now that you learn how to create a basic Shopify template page, such as we learn here, just let me add this collection in order, otherwise we're gonna have an error. Now let's start by adapting this website inside our Shopify. So we have some repeating part here. So we have the header and we have the footer that is going to be displayed in every other pages. So Shopify gives us a best way to save somewhere. And this somewhere place is called Shopify section groups. So what is Shopify section group? A section group is a JSON file that stores a list of sections and app blocks to be rendered and their associated settings. If you want to create repeated code such as the header or the footer or even the aside, you must use the section group. So a section group also has a schema. Okay, so section groups must be a valid JSON files and the root should be an object within the following attribute. The section group takes an attribute of types, and this types is a string and it is required, and it can accept only 3 values. So it could be either the header, could be either the footer, or either the aside. The schema accepts also an attribute of name. It is a string, it is also required, and it is a name for the section group, so you can give it whatever name that you like. And then it takes the sections attribute. It is an object and it is also required, and this we saw also on the previous video. It's just like you're creating a template, and here you're gonna reference the IDs of the sections. Okay, and then we have the order, that is an array, and it is of course required. So we have this blueprint here, so we're gonna do that. So let's create a header group where we're gonna save the header and the announcement bar right here. So let's go back and let's go back to the sections and create a new file. Call it header-group.json. So inside the section directory, we can have 2 type of extension. We can have a .json and also .liquid. The .json here, it's just in the case you want to have a group section, such as for the header and for the footer. So I'm gonna create it. So first it accepts an object. So let's create the object root, and then it takes first of all a type. We're gonna create a key here called a type. This is mandatory, and it should be one of the following. So either the header, either the footer, either the aside. So as we're creating the header now, so let's call it header for now. And then it takes also an attribute of name. Again, it is mandatory, it is required. So the name is going to be the name of the section group. So let's give it a name. We're gonna give it something that makes sense. We're gonna say header group. Okay, and then it's gonna take the attribute of sections, and it's going to be an object, and this also will take the attribute of order, and it's going to be an array. Okay, so let's save it. We're not gonna have any error so far, and let's go back here, let's refresh it. We're gonna have nothing so far, but you're gonna see the change pretty soon. Okay, so let's now create the structure of our header. Okay, so we have the header here, so this section right here, we're gonna call it the header, and then we're gonna have this section here, we're gonna call it announcement. So the same principles. Okay, so first we're gonna come, because it is sections, and this is gonna point to the files that is going to be living inside the sections directory. So first we need to give it a name, a random name as a section ID, just like we saw earlier. So we're gonna say here header. Okay, that's a random name. So this header accepts an object, and inside there should be a type. This type is going to be the name of the files that must be present inside the sections directory. So we name it header. And again, remember, the header here and here are not the same. This is a random ID name. I just call it header so that it makes sense. Okay, because we're gonna see it on the theme editor there. And the type, it is the header. So this header here again is different with this one. Okay, so this type here, it is the name of a file that must be inside the section. So if I save it now, you're gonna see I'm gonna have an error. Okay, section type header does not refer to any existing section file. So we need to create it. So let's go. Let's say header now is going to be that liquid because we want to have some HTML there. So I'm gonna save it, and quickly I'm gonna write here header tag, and inside we can say header just for as reference for now. So if I go back to my design, we have this section here. For now I'm just creating the sections. All these things is gonna come a bit later. So now we have this bar here. We're gonna call it announcement bar. So let's go back to the header group.json. Just before we continue, we need to add also settings here because it is expecting a settings, and you're gonna see why soon. And just before the header, let's add here moment. Let me remove this terminal. So here we're gonna give it again a random name. So we're gonna say announcement, and it's going to take an object, and inside Shopify looking for a type keyword. So the type must be there, and the type must be a file that must be present inside the section directory. Okay, so I will do also the settings, and the settings, it is an object, and if I save it, we're gonna have an error. Okay, again because we don't have this announcement bar file created yet. Just let me reduce this so that we can see what's going on. So we need to create this announcement bar, and here I purposely add this different name here so that you can understand that it is not the same as we have here. Okay, so that's the ID. It is unique. I give it a random ID just because I want it to make sense, so that you know when you come to debugging, you know exactly like where you are touching your code. And this is the name of the file that must be present inside the sections directory. So I'm gonna create it. Okay, and it's going to be that liquid, and here I can call it, let's say a div, or let's call it a section. This is HTML, and let's call it announcement. I have no error. If I go back to here, I refresh. Announcement bar does not refer to an existing section file. I just solve it. But again, let's turn off the server. Let's again run the server. So Shopify team dev, sometimes he does that. Okay, we have some error here, but this is not very important for now, but I think it should be okay right now. We forgot to add this ID here inside the orders. So the header, okay, we're gonna add it here, and we're gonna add also the announcement bar inside the order. Perfect. I'm gonna save it, and the error is gone. Okay, perfect. So now let's see the Shopify editor. So if I refresh, you're gonna see the differences now. We don't see nothing so far because I forgot to add this header inside the layout. So let's go back to the layouts directory and click on theme.liquid. So when you create a section group, okay, you must reference it in the layout so that it can appear. So how to do that? We can use this syntax. Okay, so curly braces, and then you write sections with an S, and then you must reference the name of the header group. So in this case, it is a header group, something like this. If I save it, just let me verify that it is correct. It is header group, yes. So if I save it now, first of all, we're gonna have the header and the announcement appeared here, but also noticed how the design changed here. So we have now the header group right here, and it is separated with the template directory. Okay, so in here we can add everything about the header, and I'm gonna create in the next video also about the footer, and then we're gonna go step by step to see how we're creating everything, and this makes like more sense. So before I let you go, I want to talk about the order. So when you're using a JSON template, you have this flexibility to come here, click, drag and drop. Okay, you can reorder as much as you want. So now you see the announcement is on top and the header is on the bottom. Okay, so if I save it, we have announcement on the top and the header is on the bottom. So let's go back to my code to see on the code. If I go back to the header group, sorry, as you can see, we have header right here as the first and announcement is the second. So this is the order that we see right here. So if as I inverted the order here, I can come to my terminal and I can say here Shopify team pull to pull the latest change from the editor in Shopify, the development editor, because we have two now. We have the live editor and we have the development editor. So the one we just saw, it is the development editor. So I'm gonna say yes right here, and carefully I will choose development because we are doing everything on the development team and editor. So I'm gonna press enter, but before I do that, just watch how the order is going to change here automatically following what we have on the Shopify editor. So if I press enter right here, watch how it's gonna change. Okay, so now we have the announcement on top and we have the header on the bottom. All right, so if again I go back and I say, you know what, I want again the header to be on top, and I save it. Now we have the header, override the change. Now we have the header on the top and the announcement on the bottom. So if I go back to my VS Code and I say the same command, so Shopify pull the latest change from the development, and I press yes and carefully choose development, and you're gonna see it changed again. Now we have the header on top and we have announcement on the bottom. We will continue on the next video to see how we can implement the design for the header and the announcement.